Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the panel. The rise of gaming in India has been remarkable. In recent years, propelled by factors such as smartphone penetration and affordable data plans, and a growing youth demographic. So, we've seen this surge in casual gaming. Has not only transformed leisure habits but also spurred the development of a vibrant gaming ecosystem. And with this I would ask the like I would like to sort of start off asking you guys is India is usually known as a market that is unwilling to spend. you know so however, we've recently seen that there's a sort of a growing propensity of spending, according to the report by Lumega. So, what are the most effective monetization models for casual games in India, considering factors like purchasing power and consumer behavior? Any of you guys can answer. Go ahead.
So thank you, Saptak. First of all, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amit Chadha. I am the director at Keyword Studios India. We are a service provider to the gaming industry from a little over 2 decades now. It's the organization which operates worldwide with about 70 studios and about 32 countries today. To address this question, the willingness to spend, in my opinion, Indians are getting there. Of course, yes, the main market who spends immense amount of money is US, Japan, China to an extent. And Indians are getting there. The market is certainly evolving, and with the rise on casual gaming, of course, thanks to studios like Lucid Labs and Funstop for creating games which connects with Indian audience, bringing in either mythology, history, geography, or a skill that you'll acquire tomorrow to use in your day-to-day life, is certainly changing the mindset of parents, which is the most tricky part, because the audience for casual gaming is either bifurcated in student or housewives. That's a surprising data, by the way. The majority people who spend time on casual gaming are ladies. Accessibility has also given a lot of rise, of course, because you could actually play anywhere on the go, and so parents, the mindset has to switch and change, which is impacting because of they want their children to acquire and know the culture nuances within the game. Of course, it is happening. Help of Funstop, for example, these guys are creating a game on Ram Mandir. Who would have thought of that? So great timing. And now children who are absolutely disconnected with that culture is actually getting on board playing those games. Parents are now getting involved with them because they are possibly a master of that particular content. We grew up watching Ramayana, Mahabharata, right? So devs really need to think on creating games which will, attract user. It's engaging. Hence, yes, the spending power will show up, right? So it is indeed growing, in my opinion, and it will continue to evolve.
Any additions?
Hello. Hello, everyone. So my name is Tamesh. I'm from Funstop Games. So I'll thanks Amit, for introducing our Shri Ram Mandir game. Yeah. So we recently launched, and I take this as an example, how people are spending so much time, and they are so passionate about this game, right? They we can saw the clear virality in that game. We have more than 500 plus YouTube videos. People are sharing that, and they are so proud actually to play that game. Even though our users are our testers, they are writing down everything on the Google Play Store. You go there and you saw more than 15,000 reviews, and people are telling that okay, there is some bug, but okay, we still love this game, and please create similar kind of games. And we are saying high paying users, especially on those kind of spiritual games. So we created a new category, which is spiritual games. I believe, no one started it. There are, mythological based games, on the casual side, on the card base. But what we feel earlier, those are so complex and complicated. Like, the mass audience will not able to connect with that, actually, that kind of games. So we started, our Ram Mandir concept with, like, okay, you have to create the Ram Mandir from your home, right? So you can manage, the devotees. You have to, like, give them puja thali, right? To, handle, and pray. And you have to manage the bandara section also. So this is game, all about, you have to build the Ram Mandir structure. And we can see, like, there is a huge potential in app purchase on that game, and also on the, like, reward base, ad monetization.
So you don't have to go to Mandir anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly the core concept of, like, designing this game. You can create a Ram Mandir from your home and experience it.
Chirag, any additional?
Hi everyone, I'm Chirag Chopra. I run an indie game studio, an all-remote studio called Lucid Labs. We are passionate about creating experiential casual games with light-hearted storytelling. We've been in the business for past 8 years, and so far we've made 4 games for various platforms like Apple Arcade, Play Pass, Netflix. And over the years, we've collected about 5 Game of the Year awards and a dozen other awards, mostly into mobile casual games. And now we are also expanding into more platforms like consoles and PC. And to add to whatever the question was, I think this is a 5-year-old notion that India is behind when it comes to spending in games, especially mobile games. This myth was debunked, I think, during the COVID pandemic, when games like PUBG, Free Fire, they kind of flipped the tables and, in a way, conveyed everyone that it's not about India as a paying market. It's about how you create the intent to pay. And games like, these games, even some casual games, they did that with contextual pricing, regional pricing, sub-dollar pricing, looking for different ways to, add value to the content. And that's how now, if you see, we are probably one of the top spending countries in Asia when it comes to mobile games, and downloads we are already, topped. But so yeah, this is something that the landscape has changed 5 years ago. It's not about looking at Indian consumer in a way that whether they'll pay or not. It's about creating the right intent and conveying the right value to them. So that's about it.
Right. So the next question is, of course, for all three of you to answer. So how have casual games influenced traditional forms of entertainment in India? And in what ways do casual games sort of reflect or challenge cultural norms and values in the Indian society?
Okay, I'll take this one again because I think that's my forte. Been doing translation of video games for good 14 years now, right? So we bring games to the global market, and we are so proud of it because we could actually, close your eyes, think about a game, keywords is behind them. That's how large we are in terms of size today, and thanks to the teams which is split across so many countries. Cultural nuances in games is super important, and it brings in the value. And if you look at this entire market today, the Indians are kind of influenced, or rather our children's, for example, are growing up watching Doraemon and Shin Chan and other stuff, which is bringing them different perspective altogether, right? Now, if you look at that prospect, they look at the market from a very different angle. The K-pop culture is, for example, too famous in India than being actually in Korea today, right? So cultural connect is super important, and availability and accessibility of content. The mobile is in everybody's hand today. It's super easy to reach, and there are different ways of then monetizing, because you're basically involved with children who's typically hooked up on the game, and bringing in responsibility at the same time. Who's watching what sort of content? There are parental control and stuff like that is also available. Now, what you make from an education point of view, for example, if it is bringing in any kind of a skill set in you, that matters a lot. And I completely appreciate once again the way Indian market is now evolving towards that segment.
Uh, all right. So, I was really interested in knowing if there are, any trends that are emerging in the multiplayer space, because multiplayer space has sort of, really shot up. So, I just wanted to understand, like, what sort of role is multiplayer playing, in terms of, sort of boosting the casual gaming sector in India.
So I think if I strictly talk about mobile, then esports has played a big role, and even live streaming has played a big role in uniting everyone. We all grew up playing Counter Strike in our college dorms, right? And it translated into playing something on mobile, playing PUBG, Fortnite on mobile. And that's how, when we were going through some of the hardest times, the COVID pandemic, people were really looking into ways to still socialize with each other, but not doing that in a very formal way. That's where games come in. All these community, all these engagement via the community play is when games utilizing these features are really shining. Especially the Indian esports scene is growing a lot, and there are multiple avenues, multiple platforms and games shining in that era. So that's where games capitalizing on social engagement is, in a way, benefiting not just the organic KPIs, but also adding another layer to the whole engagement.
All right. So, are there any untapped, segments or niche markets within India that present opportunities for developers of casual games, and how might advancements in technology sort of propel that?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So one of them, it is like, I mean, okay, we recently opened the market which is called spiritual games, and which is, I mean, we recently entered into this one also, right? And there is, I mean, a lot of learnings. I mean, how people are reacting to that, how many languages we are, I mean, adding into the game, right? And the second one, I mean, what we believe, I mean, in our company, in our thesis, like if there is any game that you can maybe adding a multiplayer layer to it, or and there is a like luck versus, I mean, skill set into that. So every player, I mean, who won, they think, I mean, they won by, okay, maybe the skill set. And any player, I mean, who like lose the game, they think, I mean, there is a, okay, there is a luck, because, I mean, the other player won by luck, and the player who won, actually, they think, I mean, there is a skill involved into that. And if you can combine, I mean, those two, I mean, element into one game, there can be huge success. And adding the like the multiplayer layer to it. And there is a market for educational games also. I mean, parents are also want, I mean, right, everybody, I mean, want, I mean, to like play the game by, I mean, educating their kids. So these are, I mean, I think in my view are the two market. One is spiritual, and like second is education.
I think with his game already, there's one untapped market which has huge potential in India. Anything to do with religion and mythology is always, vitally accepted, and hence, I don't think so in times ahead you would see any untapped market in India. We're simply going to grow where the other part of the world is looking at economic stagnancy. India is at boost at the moment. Next 10 years is for our country, and thanks to the startup culture, we're simply going to rock the market going ahead.
To add, I think there's also something to be seen. We've been talking about the next billion users will come from India, and now that people have been looking out to capitalize that next billion, there's also space to look for stuff like rural areas where tier 3, tier 4 countries, they are highly engaged thanks to the technology. The 3G, 4G plans are super cheap. Everybody has a smartphone now. If we can figure out a way to engage them in a more cultural, traditional, and contextual way, then that's also something, that's a big chunk of the market that still remains untapped, because games being targeting globally as a linear sort of fundamentals. I think rural areas are where you could also look at and create something contextual and probably have some success there as well.
All right. So my next question is to you, Tamesh. Are there any challenges, like unique challenges or opportunities in developing and distributing casual games for the Indian market?
Yeah, I mean there are, I mean India's like land of opportunities, I feel. Yeah, there are, I mean definitely challenges. So I'll start by maybe the challenge one. As I mean, okay, so India's like very cultural driven country, right? So anyone who's developing the games, especially I mean on the spiritual or on the mythological concept, because like everyone have different cultures, so you have to connect with them, right, in a very niche way. And there is again, I mean the second challenge is like there are multiple languages, so you have to connect, I mean, with every culture in their different languages. So this is one of the challenge. And the second one, what I feel, although I mean there is a like high penetration of the internet, mobile devices are, I mean, gone up, but still, I mean, there are like very the major chunk is like low end devices, and the game developers have to really like think about optimizing their games for the very low end devices and the low processors. So these are, I mean, like the two major, I mean, big challenges, I mean, what we feel like in our company. And again, I mean, the in terms of opportunity, there are like a lot of, I mean, opportunities like creating the mythological, spiritual, educational, these kind of games.
Chirag, any additions?
Yeah, I think just to add, he's covered most of the points, but it's also about one looking at the monetization angle. It's really hard to figure out a balance between segmenting your users into people who would only engage with advertising versus people who would go on and spend in in-app purchases, and then tweaking out the pricing, the value that an in-app would bring is very different than what someone in the West would acknowledge. For someone in the West, even something so little as a virtual cosmetic would mean a lot, versus someone in India would need to have a gameplay value attached to it in order to make the purchase. So these are also some of the challenges, tweaking the monetization angle and adding the right kind of value to convey its existence.
Visibility is important in India, or whether it be India or globally. So I just wanted to understand how social media is sort of social media and app stores play a role in the distribution and discovery of casual games. Anyway.
Yeah. So like our recent game was, I mean, really popular on social media. So I think I was the right one. So we recently, I mean, find out. So you should, I mean, create one part of, I mean, the game, which you think, I mean, if somebody has to record the video, like 10-second or 20-second video, what it should be, right? So in our case, like building the Ram Mandir temple, right? I mean, when they unlock, I mean, this is like so satisfying that we can see like more than 500 videos on the social media, and our game got viral. We recently hit 5 million downloads, like 90-95% pure organically, right, in just like the span of 1.5 months. So social media definitely creates, I mean, the major role in distributing, I mean, your game. And definitely with the help of, I mean, Play Store and App Store, you definitely can like reach out to the mass audience.
User engagement, very important here. I think if your game connects well, culturally, of course, because we are talking about Indian market and then specifically to mythology, it matters a lot here. So user experience, user engagement plays a very crucial role here. And then specifically monetization, when you talk about the placement of advertisement, the offline modes are another challenges, where either you'll ask your player to pay upfront in advance and then finally ensure you're getting a premier content with ad-free experience. So such challenges, of course, optimizing the game for low bandwidth devices or data plans. That is a bigger chunk of our Indian mobile users, unfortunately. Although yes, we're now at the era of 5G and things are progressing well at a great speed. The connectivity is spreading across the country, but there are still challenges, and that's exactly what developers really need to work upon now.
uh, you know we often relate casual games with a sort of leisure time, relaxation, and everything. So how do casual games impact the mental health and well-being of Indian players? Particularly concerning stress relief and relaxation. And are there any initiatives or campaigns sort of promoting responsible gaming habits among Indian players of casual games?
So, okay, I'll take this one again. We guys work on various games, and that's the advantage of being in the outsourcing market. So, helping developers, publishers worldwide, it gives us some data points that I can talk about, right? Uh, Primarily, if you look through all detailed data around where exactly the user engagement is, for example, responsibly playing, and now features like your screen time on your phone gives you an edge that take a break, you're wearing a smartwatch, you've been hooked up on your game for a long time. Anything which is done in access, you know, is not great for human health or mind. Hence, there has to be a balance. And where comes the balance? The market of India or elsewhere in the entire world today, the maximum gamers are teenagers or up till until 25, or else there's a complete different segment then. The engagement levels are different, but who is controlling them? Is it parental lock? Is it a diverse connectivity, or else you're learning something out of it so that your parents now can connect to it? For example, you're playing a game which is multi-user, and you're connecting a friend in the UK or in US and knowing their cultural nuances. It matters a lot. If it brings on board any sort of learning, you would see a complete different exposure and experience. Balance is certainly required. Excessive use of any content, whether you hooked up on TV or OTT, is dangerous for mental health, in my opinion.
And Rishans, Chirag?
Yes. So I feel, I mean, like excess consumption of anything is, I mean, obviously not good for your health. There is, I mean, like definitely like positive side of, I mean, the playing the games, or the negative side as well, right? I mean, you can relax on your, your free time playing games, right? But definitely the downside is, okay, you socially disconnect with your, I mean, friends and groups. But I can see there are some like initiatives, I mean, by different companies in the organization, like parental control, right? And the time limit usage, right? And also, I mean, the content, I mean, like is stricted towards, I mean, the different age groups. So again, I mean, on the side, I mean, there are definitely some initiatives, I mean, that were done by, I mean, the different kind of companies, which is, I mean, doing great. And we as a developer, like I feel this is our job to teach the youth in a very creative way about our culture through the game. So this is like that what we did, I mean, spiritual in gamification, right?
Quick thing to add here is, as a organization, we are into game testing, which means we employ people to come and play games, and their job is to play game possibly one level across months, right? So we as organization typically encourage our staff to take regular breaks, go have a round of snooker, pool, table tennis, foosball. Other options are there. So we encourage sports. There's regular tournaments that we organize in terms of cricket, sometime badminton, sometime pool. So whatever is available and in close proximity, we try and engage user there, which means one, you're off screen to your off work. Yes, there are people who are playing for fun, and there are people who are playing for money. There's a difference. Regular breaks in any human cycle is definitely required here.
So I'd like to now open the floor if there are any questions from the audience.
Hi, guys. Hi, guys. My name is Ankur. I'm from Chaotix AI. My question is actually around user generated content. So, you know, with IP protocols and everything, text became a user generated content. Tumblr and Reddit and all came out. Then phones started having cameras, and Facebook and Instagram made photos a UGC, right? And then TikTok and YouTube were made videos a UGC. So now, people were watching videos made by their friends. So do you think there will be a moment when games will become UGC, where we will play games just made by our friends for just like 50 people? And two, if that's going to happen, what do you think will need to change in the landscape of technology for that to happen?
Hi, Ankur. So I'll take this one. We A couple of months back we launched a puzzle game with UGC where people could make their own levels and publish them all within the game and also interact with each other's levels. So UGC is definitely one thing that we've seen with, especially with games like casual games, puzzle games. This is where there's a sub-segment of users who enjoy making their own content, and then they want people to, play their content, friends to play their content. And that's definitely worked in our favor because as a puzzle game, we can't just keep on making levels, right? Now we have dedicated players making those levels for us. And so far, we've had around 400 levels, all created by the players within the game. And we've realized that the whole a game within a game kind of a layer, we don't allow obviously creating a game, but people can use anything in the game to create their own experiences and levels, and we've seen good things with it. Coming to the people making their own games, there are already a lot of platforms now doing that. There's one quite popular called Hype, where they allow people to make their own bite-sized casual games and all within their own app and share it within the friends and community. They also have a TikTok-like interface where you can, instead of swiping videos, you are swiping games, and all of these games are playable, right? And it's already doing good numbers in the Western audiences. I've seen a lot of companies in India take interest and create their own versions of it. So there are technical challenges to it, but yes, to answer your question, that is a very strong path, and a lot of companies are interested in doing that and pulling it off with great success. So you should definitely check out Hype.
Thank you.
Personalized content is always in demand.
So, just other than just being able to make games, my question was, what technology do you think will be needed in order to make it like super accessible to everybody?
It all comes down to how intuitive your mechanics or controls are, right? And even though people might think that generative AI could take care of a lot of things and do a lot of stuff for you, but in the end it all comes down to, if you're asking a player to create something on a small mobile screen, then it's also about how intuitive and accessible it is to do that on a small screen, right? And also there are technical challenges apart from creation. There's also the challenge behind hosting that stuff and then optimizing it to run on any kind of WebGL media. So there's other kind of challenges as well, which is it all comes down to the internal engineering of things rather than making use of generative AI or anything, which is where I think a lot has to be, we still have a long way to go because we don't have proprietary engines in place in India which can scale to an extent. We still rely on third party engines, right? Unity, Unreal, and so on. And they are not capable of pulling that off. So at the very most, we need proprietary custom engines that can take care of these technical challenges first.
Any more questions?
Sir, using this visual programming languages like Scratch programming, this app, can kids at the school level, they develop the skills of creating small games and playing it all together? I mean, just like other professional hi-fi games.
Definitely. So Scratch is more like, you could call it like a gateway drug to actual programming, right? It simplifies a lot of core engineering and programming principles for someone like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. And it's a good starting point to not only learn programming but create your own projects. And at one point, the learner or the kid itself, realizes that it's in a way limiting to what I can actually create. I have a lot of stuff in my mind I want to create, and Scratch isn't the right thing to do. That's when you start experimenting with, even more bigger engines, bigger tools to create your stuff on. So definitely, stuff like Scratch is a great way to introduce someone to programming, and people have made full-fledged products out of Scratch. So it's not a very, I mean, it's not a light tool in any way, but it's a good way to enter into the coding and engineering principles.
I feel, there are a lot of, DIY tools as well. So I remember my days when I was starting. So I learn, Buildbox. So this is again, one of the DIY tool where you can, create the games. And I saw, lots of schools are started adopting that actually into their course. So people can maybe at least get the sense of, what exactly is, game design and everything. Once you, okay, learn everything, then you can move to like, the bigger tool, which is Unity or Unreal.
I think we have more questions.
Hello. Yes. Okay, so I believe people can hear me. So my question, or perhaps my statement, is that I've been observing that to every question there is an undercurrent of social commentary, as far as gaming is concerned, about addiction or how bad is it for the people who are engaging in gaming. But I haven't seen people talk about the positive effects of gaming in, let's say, Western countries, where people who have been outcast have actually developed certain communities within themselves, gaming communities, and they have developed friends. So perhaps it could be a good way forward for like casual game developers to promote that aspect of gaming in India going forward. Is that a fair assessment?
Indeed, it is. And trust me, we are already there because you'll experience a lot of gaming communities which exist on Twitch, YouTube, and other social media channels. And they're not restricted to social media. The way people go for Sunday rides, there are people who are organizing offline events as well. So there are definite great parties happening. And trust me, to be around gamers is great fun. Try and join them.
All right, we have time for one last question. So
Amit, my particular question is with you only. So you are dealing with number of gaming companies and indie game studios. So what I feel, what I have come to understand, that there are lot of game players in the market, but game creators are very limited. What I feel. So, what is your opinion on that, and what do you see from the game creators' angle? Will it increase in the market, or what will happen over the period?
Well, there are already many here. I really know a 6-year-old boy in my society who's already created 4 games. So that perception is definitely wrong. The entire nation towards startup segment try and visit IGDC, which is the India Games Developers Conference, happens every November in Hyderabad. You'll see 5-year-old to a 50-year-old showcasing their games, and trust me, this market is huge. We are a 1.4 billion people country today, and there's immense talent in India, which is progressing towards globalization, and this number is only set to increase. I don't see, and trust me, on a responsible side, because nowadays any child is more civic than what we were, right? So angles that you would see in the market is going to bring the best out of India, and I'm very proud and I'm definite that India is set to make a benchmark which is going to change the entire outlook of how Indian gaming market would be in next 5 years to 10 years from now. It's increasing.
Just to add one more thing, I think it's also good, right? We have more players than creators, because if everybody started creating, then who will play? Yeah, I get it, but it's just I mean, the consumers will always be. It's a good market to be in, where we have, like he mentioned, 1.4 billion people to tap into.
Only these two business, such type of players having 50% of the market in gaming.
So you're talking about the engines, not
Yes,
the.
engines
Okay.
even. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
that's a question of skill set. You know, as organizations, we have academies where we train people from different communities. It's only not open for employees. It's open for general public as well. I mean, take courses, learn a new skill, and indeed put it to some good use.
So like in that case, our company was like perfect example for that, because once we started, like in our team there is like no guy who's experienced from like game designing and everything. We took the guy from print media, we took the guy from different spaces, and we trained them, and now we are like, I mean, successfully running the company. So there is a talent, but you just have to train them. And yeah, I mean, definitely there is a, I mean, entry barrier is, I mean, super high. I remember I was like just roaming around in Manali, and there was, I mean, like the kids who were selling the balloon. Once they got to know like I am developing the game, he got, I mean, 4 of his friends and suddenly wanted to know like bhaiya kaise game banate hain. I wanted to learn as well. So this the kind of talent, I mean, we are seeing in like very very near.
I think that concludes our session. Thank you so much, gentlemen.